and welcome to the Double Dribble Podcast. You know who I am. You know this DS Walk. You guys already know that. And I want to thank everybody for, just kicking with a brother, chilling with me today. We got some things we got to talk about because, it's only 3 games left in the NBA season. The draft lottery's coming up. Playoffs will start by the end of the week. The play-in game is going to be interesting. Man, I still feel bad for those Houston Cougars. In fact, I got a question for everybody, and if you want to respond to the question, just go right here to the KDKW-DB channel right here on YouTube, and or go on Facebook too. You know what I'm saying? Either one. If you go on Facebook, go to DS Walker. Who had the most heartbreaking loss in the NCAA tournament? Is it the Houston Cougars where they couldn't get off the last shot? Sharp couldn't get it off because he went up and the ball bounced. And if he would have got the ball, it'd have been a travel. So, who had the most heartbreaking loss? Is it Houston with that? Or is it with Duke for blowing their, 7-8 point lead with 2 minutes left in the second half? I mean, look, both losses are devastating. I'm still troubled by that because I was expecting a thriller. It was a thriller. You know what I'm saying? It was a thriller. I know this because Big and Pac told me, they enjoyed this game. And I know you don't see Pac and Big. I got statues on there right next to me right here. So we watched these games and man, it's heartbreaking. But if you watch the game, please let a brother know which loss you thought it was heartbreaking. Was the Houston Cougar loss to Florida Gators in the national championship, or was it the Duke Blue Devils losing to the Houston Cougars in the national semifinals? I want to know. So let a brother know. So today, it's really nice outside today. Where I'm at is like 80 degrees, and I took the time to breathe and get some fresh air. And when I looked to the sky, it was all sunny and the clouds were out. The sky was blue. It was real nice. You know what I'm saying? Like, those saying, if you go to California, sun shines and blue skies, it's that song on the Temptations. You know what I'm saying? Please don't go away. Oh, I wish it would rain. I don't know the whole lyrics of the song, but next time I'll have it. But that song. And when I look up there, man, first of all, where I'm at, it's not going to rain, so I won't worry about that. I was thinking about the NBA because the play-in games are about to start here pretty soon, next week. And I was thinking about all those teams who got eliminated from playoff contention and for being in the play-in game. I'm talking about teams like the Toronto Raptors, the Brooklyn Nets, the New Orleans Pelicans, the Utah Jazz, the Portland Trailblazers, and now the Phoenix Suns. Disappointed right there. And the Washington Wizards, Philadelphia 76ers. I was thinking about those teams because, they have high aspirations to be in the playoffs or compete for a play-in spot, and they all just sucked. They didn't really compete. They feel a little bit different. They had some injuries, to Joe Embiid and Paul George and Tyrese Maxey, and they all, out for the season. And the injury bug bit them and bad front management from Daryl Morley. So, they suck this year. And usually the Sixers aren't in the playoffs, but this year they're not. So, it happens. And the Phoenix Suns, who officially got eliminated yesterday. And, for a team with who's going to have to pay a tax bill, or I think the roster is over $400 million, and they ain't make the postseason. Smell rebuilt. I was thinking about those teams, and the first thing that came to my mind was sky's the limit. The sky's the limit for those teams. Sky's the limit. Everybody know about sky's. Everybody know that song about the sky's the limit. Sky's the limit, and you know that you keep on pressing on. Sky's the limit. You can have what you want, be what you want. Sky's the limit. And what I mean by that, those teams had an opportunity to be in the conversation to draft Cooper Kupp, Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper, and see what happens. They have an opportunity to rebuild their team and come back next season with a whole different team, or some of these teams, pretty young and they just need some good veterans to show them how to win. It's interesting. I never think about a losing squad. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't think about losing squads because of if you have a bad season, you have a bad season. Or if you tank, you tank. That's why I just see it. But I was thinking about those teams today, man. I was thinking about how, if they draft the right player, make the right move, and they'll be right, where they're supposed to be, an improving team. I think about how each fan base of every team in the NBA, especially the ones who've been rebuilding for the last 2-3 years, the fan base want to see some improvement and want to see some good talent on the floor. That's what they want to see. They don't want to see the constant rebuild. They want some. They want to see some improvement. They want to know, hey man, what's the future outlook like? Is our sky is the limit up here? I mean, are we going to be up here? Like, is our future really good, or are we still going to be here at the bottom? I was thinking about that. I want to say good luck to those teams. I hope they advance and improve, and don't forget, they're going to be 4 other teams joining them after the play-in game. So, sky's the limit for those teams as well. The sky's the limit the sky's the limit is for the Detroit Pistons. And I say that because that's a young team led by the young player, a young superstar player in Cade Cunningham, who one day wants to be the face of the NBA. And with the ambition of one day being one of the top 3, top 5 best players in the NBA. Sky's the limit for them because that's a young team, just like OKC was, who had dreams of being on top, being one of the top 2 teams at the end of the season, competing for a championship. Kind of like right now, everybody in the NFL want to be at the Kansas City Chiefs. They want to be the big dogs. They want to be like Pat Mahomes. They want to stunt like that. They want the rings on the finger. We're gonna see. The Detroit Pistons are on the way up, so we got to pay attention to them. Let's not be paying attention to Oklahoma City Thunder. They're making some noise. Same with the Houston Rockets. They're making some noise. They actually, the Houston Rockets and the OKC Thunder, once upon a time, were the 2 worst teams in the NBA. You know how they got so good? Drafting and signing the right free agents. Maybe a lot of these teams who are second apron, who are looking to move superstar players, maybe they could take a note of that. Maybe they take note of that, how to build your team right, especially around your superstar player, especially if you got a superstar player in their prime. I'm just saying, you do it right, you don't got to worry about it. You do it wrong, well, you got to start from scratch. So yesterday, now I was watching the Mavs and the Lakers game. It was, man, I felt the tension on TV. The Dallas Maverick fans wait for this moment. They want to see their superstar player who was kicked out of the house, who was shown the exit door and basically told you're not wanted here anymore, take your ass to LA. And he did, unwillingly. And he came back last night. Luka Doncic put on the show yesterday. First of all, before I get to the what he did yesterday, shout out to the Mavs organization for showing him some love yesterday. On the video package they did yesterday, it made him cry a little emotional. And shout out also to the fans for giving him cheer for him the most throughout the game. Luka to me is one of those players where he always going to be a Dallas Maverick, no, regardless he with the Lakers. He is still loved in the DFW area. And at the end of the day, I feel bad for those fans. I feel bad for them because it was just a year ago they went to the NBA Finals. A year ago, they were the top team in the West. Now, they battling to be a play-in team. And that's with Anthony Davis. Interesting. But Luka had a game last night, man. I mean, Luka came out, showed out. He let the Mavs organization know that y'all made a mistake. Y'all did me dirty. Y'all treated me like I was just a $5 hooker. And he came out there yesterday and he bust their ass for 45 points. And he was looking at them like, yo, what condition problem y'all talking about? I didn't bust y'all bust up. Man, Luka had a game last night. I mean, if I remember correctly on the stat board, Luka had 45 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 6 assists. No, I can't even talk right. But he was 16 for 28 from the field, 7 and 10 from 3-point. And he played some defense yesterday. I'm just saying, like, Luka came out, showed out, and you knew he wanted this game. I mean, he played the Lakers, I want to say a month and a half ago in LA, but this was important. This game meant something. Now, sure, both teams are going in the opposite direction, but Luka has something to prove. And I got to give it to Nico Harrison. He showed up yesterday, and he sat in those stands for the second time in a row and watched Luka bust his team. You know what? So, Nico, that was a bad trade, my brother. Just saying. Bad trade. And speaking of those bad things, man, the Denver Nuggets still making news again. All for the wrong reasons. Now, yesterday they won. They beat the Sacramento Kings. They're currently in the 4th seed. However, certain things are coming out about the Mike Malone and Calvin Booth firing and who knew, who didn't know, what was said, what was not said. So let's go a quick recap on what was said, what was not said. First of all, before we all knew about it, the front office let Jokic know their plan was. And they told him, hey, Coach, Malone was fired. Calvin Booth was fired. They let him know, you let your best player know, and he understood. Other things started trickling out how Jokic was not happy with the defense. The defense went from a top 10 defense the last 2 years to now ranked 21st. Guys not remember defense assignments. Guys in the locker room were mad at Coach Malone because he was giving Russell Westbrook special treatment. I guess those players expect that, maybe if Russell was one of the top players on the team or in the league, they understood, but they understand that Russell's resume outweighs their resume, and he's 36 years old, so he's going to get the benefit of the doubt. And just how it is, man. I mean, it would be any other coach would do that, in my opinion. Every coach would do that. Almost every coach. I don't think Coach Powell would do that. Tibbs wouldn't do that. Because Tibbs wouldn't play him. Because Tibbs loved playing his starting 5 and running them to the ground. Speaking of running to the ground, man, I've been seeing a lot of people been dissing the top female hip hop artists of all time, and I seen that list recently. I think it's like 30 or 67, something like that. And I think they had it was the Billboard 100, and they had Nicki Minaj number one. I question that. I question that. I'm just saying I do. But if you ain't seen the list, check it out. The top female hip hop artists of all time. And Lil Kim's up there, Queen Latifah's up there, Lauryn Hill's up there. But they had Nicki Minaj number one. So y'all check that out. I mean, guys gotta understand that Russell Westbrook, even though right now he is on the downside of his career, he can still play. He can still be productive. He's not gonna put up the same numbers like he did in the past. Now he is erratic. He did cost the Nuggets some games. But when you're head coach, you gotta live with that sometimes. Especially when your best player, Joker, comes out and said one of the reasons why he's had one of his best seasons of his career, as far as number wise on assists and passing, is because of Russell Westbrook. So you got to take that with a grain of salt. Your best player loved that man. He's a big fan of that man. And yes, Russ has a second year option on his contract, which he might pick it up because I'm quite sure he won't have a lot of suitors. But trust and believe, if Jokic like him, more than likely he's going to come back. But it's kind of up to Russ, though. Then you heard the rant by Coach Malone he had against his team, talking about, guys don't watch tape, just going off on his team. And he said his job is not just be honest with his players, but be brutally honest with his players. And he was brutally honest with his squad. And the one thing that Coach Malone finally realized that most coaches who've been there for about 5+ years is that when your players tune you out, bye-bye. Especially your veteran players. Especially them, because after about 5-10 years, they heard the same message over and over and over again. After that, they don't care. It's more like, hey, I already know what to do. I heard you the first 3 years. And again, the coach's lifespan in the NBA now it is like 5 years. Because now when you see a lot of these GMs and owners, they want to go young because the game is getting young. They want the new young thing. You know what I'm saying? They want the new young piece. You seen the Lakers when they hired JJ Redick because he was the new flavor of the year. He was the new flavor of the month. They wanted him. But the one thing that JJ Redick did that made him probably one of the good young coaches in this league is that he has experienced assistant coaches who were head coaches in the NBA, a la Scott Brooks. And that helped him to be the coach he is right now. Maybe that would happen for Elderman. Maybe that would happen for him. He is 43, so he's a young coach. He's getting his first head coaching job. He knows the interim basis. So basically, this is his audition to show what he can do. He won his first game. He paid Russell Westbrook about 13 minutes. And so far, so good. And not only that, but he has the respect of the locker room. And he played the young players yesterday. Shout out to those young boys, Pickett, who played in down the stretch and key minutes down the stretch. You got to give it to him. So he did that. But the Denver Nuggets are still not out of the woods because they are still battling the Memphis Grizzlies. They're still battling the Clippers, the Golden State Warriors from 4 through 6. Because if they win in the 7 and 8, they're going to be in the play-in game. And those teams who I just named don't want to be in the play-in game because they don't want to mess with the Sacramento Kings. They don't want them dealing with the Dallas Mavericks. The Western Conference from 4 to 8. Actually, yeah, from 4 to 8, it's tough. It's tough. But hey, we'll see. We'll see. And finally, I want to say this today before I sign off is that there are a lot of things going on out here in these streets. And it's crazy, man. It is crazy. Like, for example, I heard that Tyreek Hill was involved in a domestic violence with his wife. Heard she filed for divorce now. You see all these young hip hop artists getting gunned down, getting killed. You see people allegedly, all these are allegedly, by the way. So my mistake for not saying earlier, but all these are allegedly. You know, you hear guys who are pillar in their neighborhoods are going to prison because they out here still doing the same thing that they were doing when they were young in the gang. You know, Big U and his crew, you know, you see him, he turned himself in. You see Brick Baby, Luke Kane, everybody, you know, getting charged up. And you see guys like Ray J, allegedly, who's out here on social media streaming, by the way, trying to be involved in a sleepover, actually acts be part of a sleepover with Kai Sente. Because he has sleepovers, you know, on his show. But, you know, with a lot of big name people, and Ray J won't be part of it, to sleep over and take showers with the guys. And it got really weird. Really weird. And I don't condone the weirdness of that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go on YouTube and type in Ray J and sleepover and taking showers and Brandy and all that whole story. It's a mess, man. Actually, you know what? I seen today. I was watching Storm Monroe, so make sure you guys go check that out, man. It's crazy out here in these streets, man. So basically, what I'm trying to tell everybody is, you know, chill inside because these streets are crazy now, and it's weird, and it's not safe. In fact, the streets were never safe. But now, when you add the weirdness to the streets, it's not cool. Stay inside, stay alive. Because there's too many of us getting gunned down. There's too many of us dealing with a lot of issues. And a lot of us, a lot of us got a lot of mental issues. I know I do. And I admit to that. So stay inside and take care of yourself, man. Stay inside and take care of your family. Because when you go outside, it's a 50-50 chance. And when you out here and let's say you do want to go outside, you know what I'm saying, and get some fresh air, breathe around, drive around the neighborhood, drive around the street, see all the scenery and stuff, and you get a phone call from one of your boys you hang out with on the block, say, "Oh man, I'm on the block, I'm on the corner." For what? You 50 or you 46, or why you chilling on the block? Stay your ass at home. Chill. Have a barbecue. Chill with your family and friends at your place in the backyard. But stay out the streets. The streets ain't for older people no more. The streets ain't for nobody no more. Because if I said it once, I say it again. The streets are undefeated out here. And if you're a good man or a good woman or just a good person in general, if you're a young person who has ambition to do something out here in this world, stay inside. Streets, nah, good on that. This has been the Dub Drill Podcast. I'm your host, D.L. Swall. Thank you guys for listening, tuning in, listen to me. And please comment, like the video, subscribe to my channel. And I'll holler you guys later. Peace.